All right, our guest tonight and good friend Karen Rontowski is on with us. Again, you can go check out her website at KarenRontowski.com. Karen, again, thank you so much for giving up a couple hours on your weekend, especially your Saturday night.
Well, thank you. I have a show at 10:30 tonight, so it worked out perfect.
So, where are you appearing tonight?
You know what? Oddly enough, I believe it's a private gig in, we talk about being clean, it's for middle school. I know that sounds odd, and, you know, I heard that for this middle school gig, they said that they didn't want Seinfeld, they didn't want Chris Rock, they wanted Karen Rontowski, and I'm sure those guys are sad that they missed the gig.
Well, yeah, I'm sure their agents are. They're probably mad. They're real mad. I gotta be honest with you. I know some people may cringe. See, for me, I love all kinds of different comics. I love the old comics. I love watching the old Tonight Show. I love watching Johnny Carson. But to me, Jerry Seinfeld, probably very talented. I can't even get a laugh off with him. I don't know why. He does nothing for me. Some of these big time comics to me just aren't funny. Maybe they were back then, but now it's like, hang it up.
Oh, that's fine. Well, you know, most of my favorite comics, because you know, it's kind of like never ask a comic about comedy, because especially sitcoms, I just am not. There's very few that I really find interesting.
Right.
But actually, the new one I like a lot is on Netflix with Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. Talk about ageism in Hollywood, and the best show they put out in a long time seems to be the old ladies. But Greg Hahn and Brian Kiley are two of my favorites, and I know a lot of people probably are, you know, they may know Greg, but they're probably two names that are not household names.
Mm-hmm.
And those two are the funniest guys that you'll see, you know. So it's very, you know, there's a business and then there's just funny.
Yeah.
So, you know, they don't always overlap. Unfortunately, sometimes with, you know, even now it's funny because I really feel like I'm at the top of my game, and there's places that are like, too old. You know,
really?
Yeah, and a couple of TV shows that I won't mention wouldn't even let me audition for the competitions. Too old.
Wow, they're lost.
Yeah, I guess so. But you know, you just keep doing your thing, and you hope that it works. And you know, because you've had such success with this show for so long, and it's always neat when you kind of keep meeting somebody along the same path, and they're doing what they love. You know.
Well, and you know, like for me, I don't know, a couple of years ago, you know, I was trying to, I was besides working a full-time day job, I was trying to take this show national. I was probably as much as people, you know, actors, you know, I was pounding on doors, I was writing letters, I was sending demo reels, and you know, I was getting plenty of places that would be like, sure, we'd love to have you on our station, $175 an hour. You know, you can be anywhere. Right? And then I finally decided that, you know what, this station here, especially if you heard, like when we first started, one of the hosts opened a business up here in town, and he has just had a great following for 50 plus years. And all the people that I met over the past few days helping him out, who are so dedicated, and you know, introduced myself to them, and you know, just everybody said, great show. I get a laugh out of it. It's fun. It's interesting. You bring interesting guests on. I'm kind of at that age where it's like, you know what, I'm cool with that. I don't need to go any further. If the opportunity were to pose itself, sure, I would love it, as anybody would. But sometimes you kind of get to a point where you just have to feel comfortable, enjoy doing what you do, and do the best at what you do. And that's what you do.
Right, and you let the young kids battle it out.
Right.
And, yeah, you learn a little more patience. But, you know, it really is a funny thing because this thing that we both have loved for so long, which is the paranormal, or the fringe, as you say, is it seems to be coming into its time. So it's funny when you were talking about UFOs, I thought I read somewhere that the United States is probably the last country that doesn't have a fallback plan or a defense plan for alien attack.
Yeah.
Like there's other countries that have them, which is very interesting. But, I think that the way, I don't know why, but when I used to listen to Coast AM, and Art was on, that's how long ago that was, he always had these, a couple of those people that were very much about the Catholic faith, and they had all said that if it turned out there were UFOs, they would be completely lost, and they would doubt their religion, which I didn't quite understand, because to me, you can have both. That doesn't, I don't think it's, I don't think it's saying that there's no God if there's alien, but that was how these people felt. But I think the way religion is shifting, there's going to be people more open to this kind of thing. I mean, I used to get all letters all the time. Tarot cards are of the devil and they're evil, and I don't get them as much now. So something's shifting.
Well, and one thing, and I've said this so many times, probably sound like a broken record for the people who listen, but I think people are starting to question things. I think people, especially people in our age bracket, are starting to question things where they're saying, for many years, this is how Grandpa did it and Grandma did it, and this is how my parents did it, and this is how I did it, and whether it comes to religious beliefs or whatever, and now people are saying, I've always believed that because somebody told me to believe that. Now I've got now I'm starting to think a little differently about things, and people are starting to explore a little bit. I think people are starting to get out of their shell, and they're saying, you know what, there's no wrong, there's no reason to you're doing nothing wrong to think outside of the box.
Right, and especially with health. People are finding that. I also am a Reiki master, and I have had, and I'm, Reiki master, and recently have become very fascinated with essential oils, and I have found them to work better than anything over the counter. It's just, I also, I had a friend that came, she had stage 4 cancer. And I connected her to a friend of mine that just made a movie about the power of the cannabis oil, and they immediately connected. She went on a real strict program and did chemo, and her oncologist couldn't believe it. In 6 months, total remission from stage 4.
Wow. Well,
she changed. Yeah.
I think that's, I personally think there are some benefits to that. And call it what you want. Of course, it's gotten all the, the names and what it was used for so many years, but there are healing properties to it. But I think that's government wanting to control it and get money, and big pharmaceuticals that want to stop it.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think they, exactly. That's the part, is there's no money in hemp oil but you know what? People are going to start to break away. I mean, there's a wonderful movie called The Living Matrix. And, if you had told me 10 years ago about Reiki, I wouldn't even have understood what you were talking about. And now I'm a Reiki master, and I feel very differently. The Living Matrix, it talks about the energy field around your body. And it's really science. It's not craziness. But, how rarely do we think about the energy field around our body? Yet you hear people say things like, oh, there was too much negative energy, or I feel awful after I talk to that person. And those are all things that are affecting, the energy field around your body. And so why not take care of it? If that's healthy, maybe the rest of you can be healthy,
Well, again, there's a lot more than taking those pills. And the thing that is sad, I really believe in my heart that there's a lot of cures for some of these horrific diseases out there. But again, the money that can be made, it's just like diets. Just think if tomorrow one of the big pharmaceutical companies got and said, here, take 5 of these pills and you can drop 50 pounds. Look at companies like Coca-Cola. They sell more Diet Coke than anything else. Diet Pepsi. I mean, the diet industry is it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, a lot of it backed by big pharmaceutical. It all collapsed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And the other thing is they just it's very interesting. I think I don't know if it was Coke or Pepsi. I sort of stopped drinking soda a little while ago. They came out with a study, which, you can have a study about anything. I recently had one morning I woke up. I'm vegan, and I woke up in the morning and I heard on the radio they said of all the diets, the healthiest diet is the vegan diet. And then as I was going to sleep at night, I had the radio on again, and I said, and the guy said, studies show by all means the worst diet that you could have is a vegan diet. And I thought, wow, that was in one day.
Yeah.
I learned what I mean.
Yeah.
But I know I don't like that aspartame. And they are one of the companies, either Coke or Pepsi, they're going to take it out,
And
take it out of their product.
Probably put some other poison in there.
You know, that's what I was thinking. They'll rename it and put it in. But there's an interesting. I don't know. Did you ever look into the conspiracy of aspartame?
Well,
and Donald Rumsfeld?
Well, no, I haven't. I've actually had a couple of. Actually had a doctor that used to be an ER surgeon in New York, and she her son. I believe one of her sons died. I don't remember. It's been a couple of years ago. But here was a doctor that just had enough and said, look, we got to quit. We got to quit giving these kids these shots. We've got to watch what we eat. Stay away from, use more. Use what they call the colloidal silver. Use more things that are effective, and stay away from the big pharmaceutical stuff, and look at more of the natural stuff. But aspartame. The little bit I've dug into it, and I don't know about with Rumsfeld, but my understanding is it has chemicals in it that's used in making antifreeze, and also there is a part of it that I believe, and I'm not a doctor, but I believe there's some ingredients in it that are actually used in the making of the drug Prozac, which is a mind-altering drug, and I kind of have to believe that, and maybe you would agree, and a lot of other people would agree, kind of as horrid as these diet colas are, and they don't taste good, but you know what? I can easily drink a 12-pack, and what is that? If your body doesn't like the way something tastes, but yet you still have this urge to put it down.
Right. Yeah, I think that I don't know what it's going to take, but we need to reevaluate our food systems. I don't know if you guys have Trader Joe's out there in.
We just got them.
Their food source. If you do any sort of research, they're sort of this apparition in the food industry because they know where everything comes from. That you can walk in and ask them for gluten-free or vegan-free, and they have a list. But they keep track of everything. I know a friend that drives trucks, and he says. He'll have a crate of lettuce, and it all came from the same place, and someone will come out and stamp half of it organic and half of it not organic, and they don't care. Trader Joe's knows so much about their food, and their employees know. I live right down the street from one, and I actually think if I have to move, I'm going to move close to another because their food is just so good and so clean. They even have next to the eggs, they have the definitions. This is what cage-free means. This is what, this means. So they're really a fantastic company. So there, I just did a free ad for them. So they should give you some free candy.
Oh, well, I wish they would. I believe I believe there is one here in the Salt Lake area. I know one thing is I've read with butter and stuff like that, they carry some lines of organic grass-fed butter that supposedly tastes very good and is extremely healthy for you. But no, there's so much poison in there's so much poison in these in these concoctions. And I just tell me about the aspartame thing with Rumsfeld. Tell me about that. Enlighten me.
If you actually Google aspartame and Donald Rumsfeld. It was back when he was working, I think there was somehow a connection that they were testing the aspartame on monkeys, which I'm so against animal testing. If we need to test it on an animal, even makeup and that stuff, that's ridiculous. And the monkeys had such big tumors, and basically the short line was they called it Rumsfeld and said, can you get this put off over the weekend so we can remove the tumors so it will be okayed by the FDA? And he did that, and that's why it's such a popular product now. But it actually was growing tumors on the monkeys, and so they just removed the tumors to say it was okay.
Wow. Did you hear about
And,
this? Not to be negative, I probably shouldn't even say this, but I don't know. Did you, if you read the paper or watch the paper or the news much, but this absolute horrible person in Florida that ran all the ducklings over in the yard? Did you hear about that?
no, I didn't. But
I was not to bring up sad things like that, but it was on MSN today. I guess this guy that owns a big lawn mowing company down in the Florida area was mowing a lawn and purposely took this riding mower, one of these big commercial mowers, and ran a whole family of little ducklings and the mother duck over. The mother duck survived. One of the ducklings survived. The good thing is, well, it's sad because the animals died. The good thing is he's locked up on, I believe, $40,000 cash bail.
Good. I was on a USO tour of Italy, and they said that when you hurt an animal, it carries the same weight, same charges, criminal charges, as if you hurt a human being, and they don't have any serial killers there.
Wow.
I know that. Yeah, I don't know how people. That makes me crazy. That's another funny thing. Not to get off topic, but the reason I became vegan was because I went to a yoga retreat and they showed us this movie called Earthlings, and it was how they treated the animals, and it was so traumatizing. I was done. But and then I thought, well, you know what? I think I'm gonna stop using makeup that's tested on animals. It's a full-time job to find out what companies do and what don't. And then when you finally get it down and you go, like PETA usually has a good list, but then some of these companies are owned by bigger companies or L'Oreal, which is the big one, which they do the testing and then they give the products to the company that says, oh, we don't test on animals. So it's a very strange process. And then what happened was Avon was actually the leader in no animal testing, and then they started selling to China, and China requires animal testing for everything. So our food and our products are so, wound up. It would be really nice to just get back to when it says organic for it to really be organic.
Yeah, and not have to go through a bunch of lab tests. We got a couple callers. You want to take a call?
Sure.
Okay, let's take a call. Caller, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk. You're on with Karen Rontowski.
Karen. Hey, pal.
Hey, what's up, Harv?
Yeah, my dog, a Keebler, 110-pound, sweet girl of all time. She has never spent a night outside.
Uh-huh.
Debbie said, get on the couch. Well, because they are us.
The animals?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
they've
yeah.
been here
Yep.
with us for 40,000 years. The wool and DNA. And my dog is the sweetest girl of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and if people can harm an animal and have no remorse, kind of like this guy with this mower, and most of these serial killers, Richard Kuklinski, who I've had experts on the program to talk about him. When he was young, his big thing was to throw cats into a furnace and see what would happen, and just no remorse for life, no care for life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it right there, is for life. You know what I mean? Like what? I don't know. I have a friend that's an animal communicator, and she actually the messages that these animals have for us, or how they watch over us, is really amazing. I really think animals are more evolved than we are.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you, Sissy. My dog, Keebler, she can see around a corner with her nose.
Yeah, we got to take care of them,
Well, she's the sweetest girl. She takes care of me.
Yeah. Emotionally, especially.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got.
All right, brother. Well, thanks for calling in as always. Hope you're doing good.
You know what? Anybody that, that's why I've gone vegan. I'm not killing anything anymore. Word of honor. I'm not going hunting no more. I'm not eating beef no more. I'll get my protein another way.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm done with it.
I agree. Hey, Harv, thanks for calling in.
Thanks, brother.
Take care,
Love
man.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Peace out.
Bye. Our good friend Harvey from... I
think I talked to Harvey last time.
You probably did. He calls in all the time.
He's neat.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Carol just sent a message and says, I remember when he called in for Karen's last visit.
Yeah, he's good for staying up late at night. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's when we did the midnight show. You want to take another call?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, here we go. Caller, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk. You're on with Karen.
Have you guys seen the footage? The old footage from the, I think, 73 of Bigfoot?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And they took that and they digitally remastered it. And you can see all the outlines of the Bigfoot's face. And they talked to some, I don't know what the technical term for a primate scientist is, but they had about 4 or 5 experts looked at it after it was digitally remastered, and they said that the traits of this creature were so much like an ape that it is a real film, and it does exist. And I never believed in Bigfoot until I saw that.
Are you talking the Patterson film?
I think that's what it is. It was a guy that was out fishing, and he brought his camera with him, and he saw it, and he filmed it. And
right.
He's totally credible. You don't get any kind of feeling that. But and the thing is I never really believed in. Well, I've always believed there was life on other planets, but I wasn't so sure about the UFO thing until I started watching the History Channel too. And now I think that there's a possibility there's a UFO base here at the bottom of the ocean or something, and there's the ones that are the most credible are they'll be tracking it by radar. People are seeing it on the ground, and they scramble jets. So something's there.
Right.
I think that's all sort of the same issue, and it's something that's coming up because I think they're all just interdimensional things. I just think, I actually believe that animals are somewhat interdimensional. My friend that speaks with sometimes when we really can't crack a case, an animal lost case, I said, she jokes around, she calls my little dog the boss because she says he's the bossiest dog she's ever met. So sometimes when we can't find an animal, I will say to her, ask the boss. And he will describe to the animal community, to my friend Sonia, exactly where the lost animal is. And people will go to that spot several times, and they will not find the lost dog. And then weeks later, they will go back and find that dog. And we have had times where, in fact, she was talking about a dog that escaped out of its house wearing a sweater and ran into the woods. And we could not find that dog for anything. We just knew he was coming back. Sure enough, 3 months later, that dog comes running back wearing the same sweater, and the sweater is as clean as the day he left, which means someone would have had to have found him, taken care of him, washed the sweater, put the sweater back on, and then he goes back on his way home. I mean, there's no way to explain that except interdimensional.
Okay.
Well, isn't that weird?
What are you saying? When Bigfoot gets scared, it can shift into another dimension? Because my biggest thing was, why had we never found one that was dead?
Right. Exactly.
I think
that's why
the thing.
that's what was my biggest thing was about that. But now after seeing these experts, and these are credible people saying this about Bigfoot, and the thing about the UFOs, like I said, I mean, there's just too much going on there. That there's some reason they're coming here, and for some reason they have some law or some kind of agreement that they don't ever use any kind of lethal things against us. Like if we scramble or whatever, they have weapons that can just disable cause all the things in the jet to malfunction. Or so I believe UFOs are coming here. They have a base here somewhere. They're not coming here to be worshipped as gods. I don't think that they're traveling millions of light years to come here and teach us anything. That we have there's something here that they want, some kind of element, some kind of thing that they use.
Well, now you got me really talking out of school, and I think I hate it. I've had the Secret Service show up at my house, so I'm going to tell this carefully. But when you go on USO tours as a comedian, they show you bases and they show you the most interesting things. And I got to go to Greenland at one point. We have the Air Force base up there. And I was joking around. They would call me Scully because I was asking about the aliens from, And so we got to talk to the top commander there. And I said, I was just kidding. And I said, did you guys ever see UFOs? And he became very serious and said, no one here told you there's UFOs, and no one said anything about UFOs, and you did not hear any. He was very clear that we were not going to talk about this. So I waited till we were like a couple of guys down on the ladder, and I said, "Are you guys have any UFOs?" Almost the same answer. No one here said UFOs. No one said aliens. And I thought, my God. And then we came to kind of the guys at the bottom level that really watch over the Northern Hemisphere. That's their job. They watch computers, and they're all set up we started that base there because we're afraid of Russia. They can watch anything that comes out of Russia. And I said to those guys, have you ever seen a UFO? And they said, 3 or 4 a day. We have no idea what they are. They come in and out. We don't know what they are.
Wow.
So, but that goes way down the rung to somebody who didn't care.
Like I said, it's just the most riveting ones encounters, I think, are when they're tracking it by radar. They got people on the ground that see it, and they scramble jets. And I really think the reason they're scrambling jets is they're figuring out how these things, they're trying to figure out how they work. And I honestly think that they have a way of warping space. And when they distort and warp space, that's what they use that's their energy.
I bet you're right.
So that's how they're able to travel so far, is that they're able to distort the space around the craft and use that as propulsion.
Right, and not even necessarily have
the Earth is not being pulled by gravity. The Earth is actually being pushed by the sun. The sun is so big it distorts all the space around it, and that distorting space is what's actually pushing the sun. Pushing the Earth around the sun. So I think it's along those lines the way that they propel themselves.
We may actually. Have you ever seen Travis Walton?
No, I'm not really. I'm not really into the UFO. I've never really been into the UFO thing or anything. I've always thought that it was naive to believe that Earthlings were the only intelligent life in the universe. But I was never really into this kind of stuff. But then it's just the number of cases and the credibility.
Well, if you ever get a chance, there was a movie a long time ago called A Fire in the Sky, and it was about Travis Walton. It was probably one of the most publicized abduction cases because they were all loggers, him and his friends. This was in the 70s, and he disappeared. He was picked up by a spaceship, and they were just guys that were like, we can't tell the people that the spaceship picked up our friends. And then the law came into it, and they wanted to charge these guys with murder. They thought they had killed him and got rid of the body. And then Travis popped up 5 days later and, confirmed their story. And the movie is pretty terrifying, but I actually got to see Travis speak at a paranormal convention, and it was fascinating. It still gives me the chills. And the new information, he went back to the spot where it happened and the radiation and how the trees are growing faster there. There was so much information. He blew my mind. If you ever get to see him speak, it's fascinating. And just to meet this man who was overpowered by these little beings, and to actually physically see him, and then see a picture of him at 18 years old when it happened, I tell you, he was like a brick house. It's just, you can't even imagine the technology they must have. But if you ever get a chance, like I said, Travis Walton or A Fire in the Sky, he is fascinating.
Well, do you know where Granby, Colorado is?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's like one of the highest parts. And NORAD isn't too far from there. But years ago, I was up there camping with some friends of mine. And in the middle of the night, we didn't have flashlights or anything. The moon and everything was really bright. But in the middle of the night, this big triangular-shaped thing, flew over us at a really, really slow speed. To be honest, I've never seen anything really go that slow before and anything that big. And it made no noise. And my friend said to me, he's hiding in the trees, and he's like, get over here in the shadows. And I said, that doesn't make any difference,
Right.
And really, I don't know if it was a military thing, but that's basically what we all wrote it off as, is it's some kind of thing that because NORAD is right down the road or whatever. But, that's the one thing that I've seen my entire life that I thought. But, yeah, it wasn't a plane. It wasn't, nobody's going to convince me that I didn't see what I saw.
Right, right.
Yeah, well, Travis always says, because in the movie they were all driving down to go home after this day of logging, and they saw the ship, and Travis got out of the truck and ran over to see what it was, and everyone was yelling, get back in the truck, get back in the truck, and then the thing picked him up. And he actually, I had a poster from Fire in the Sky, and he wrote on it, it was very funny, he wrote, Karen, take my advice and stay in the truck.
Yeah, they're studying people like we study animals, like we go out into the woods and catch an animal and tag it. That's what they do to people, because basically that's what we probably are to them.
Yeah, and we hope they're not like the guy with the mower. And
I don't know how spiritually advanced these people. They might have a nature. They don't harm us. So they because they obviously probably have the technology to just annihilate us anytime they want. So they can't be all that bad.
I would disagree a little bit on that. If you see anyone or speak to anyone that's actually been abducted, they very much. I always feel like this is very interesting, and this goes into something of demonology that I know, which is it seems like when people really are abducted and they seem to try to be mating, or they're trying to somehow, combine species, they've always said that, they have no emotion, and that humans really are the ones that that's what everyone wants to get to, is that we sort of have this emotional and sort of dimensional range ourselves. Like when we sleep, we go to different dimensions, and that seems to be something that, the aliens are interested in. And also, I know with when they talk about demonology, sometimes demons will try to replicate humans. And one of the problems is they can't.
So you think demons are real? I gotta go, man. You're too far off the charts. I can't have a normal conversation. I mean, I'm sure I've seen things and stuff, but this is just way too out there. Bye.
Well, from Bigfoot and way too out there. Okay.
I know. He started with aliens, and then I got way too out there. Okay.
That's okay. That's what it's all about. Anyway.
But they say that they can't, apparently whoever's trying to replicate humans, it really just can't be done, which is really interesting about our place standing in the universe.
Yeah. One thing, I had Steve Pierce on the show, who was there, and I know Steve just finished up a book, and I believe he went through some regression therapy, and in talking with Steve, and I'd like to get Steve back on the show again, he talked about not only Travis having something happen, but now they all feel that something might have happened to him. It wasn't just one person.
Oh, interesting. Travis had some wonderful information when I saw him about, everyone says the aliens communicate telepathically, and he was saying how he got nothing from them. And it sort of, if you trace it back, that original movie, when they picked him up, the first time they picked him up and threw him, and he bounced his head. He had a concussion. So they were saying some of the people he talked to said the part of his brain that would have been open to telepathy was damaged by the concussion. So maybe he couldn't understand them, which is maybe why he had complete recollection of what happened.
Maybe.
Yeah, very interesting.
It is interesting.
Sorry if it's too far out. I don't know when we got too far out, but
well, hey, it's okay. It's but like with that gentleman, at least he it's a good step forward. Didn't believe in some things, and now somewhat believes in Bigfoot. So, right. Step at a time. Can't walk too fast. That's.
I think that's what the government thinks, and that's why they're still denying.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree with you. Let's talk a little bit about some things that you got coming up. Are you doing any more? You just did the Pioneer Paracon. What was that all about? Tell me about it.
That was fantastic. That was up at we have a little place here called Glen Tavern, and it's up in Santa Paula.
Okay.
And it's just this wonderful little, sort of kind of, I don't know if it's Gold Rush. I believe it was it was because of the trains that came through Santa Paula. A wonderful hotel. They, it's one of those that they've kept it, it's sort of its authentic way, and it's very haunted. And then, of course, at one point it was a brothel, which always makes things haunted, and it's been on Ghost Adventures, and they just did a wonderful little paranormal convention there, about less than an hour out of L.A. So that was fantastic. And then, let's see, I got the psychic stand-up show coming. And, and I wonder if our friend ever came up with the name of the tarot card that he was contemplating.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Okay. Well, very interesting to make your own deck. So that's kind of what I have coming up, the psychic stand-up show, and, in Vegas next week.
Wow. That's going to be fun. Are you doing the Vegas Paracon thing? I know that's really shifted way to the north now. I know there was a lot of advertising going on, and of course, the one you did a couple years ago was so much fun, and last year things got kind of messed up. But I heard another one, but it's somewhere way north of Las Vegas.
You know what? I had talked to them about that, but I think I'm not sure on that one. Actually, I'm going to be hanging out with some of the people from it this week, so I'll probably find out more. But I know the next Paracon I actually have on the books is in September, and it is in northern Nevada. It's another one that Doug, who is it? Doug. He does Virginia City every year. My friend Doug, that I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
If people look, I'll have that on my website. That's fantastic in September. But Virginia City, this year I couldn't attend, and that's always a great one. You've been to Virginia City, right?
No, I have not.
Oh, Virginia City is just fantastic. It's just the same as the city was when it was the Old West. They haven't really updated too much, and it's very, very interesting place. Had some wonderful experiences there.
Well, you've got a full calendar for sure.
Yeah, I do. It's actually I should be more attentive to updating it on my website, but there's just a lot to do.
Yeah. Well, the Vegas thing is always fun. That's got to be fun to be down there for a whole week.
Yeah, and especially at the MGM, they put us up in beautiful in the apartments there, so that's really good. I'm not much of a gambler, but it is really nice as a comedian to have everything at your fingertips. You know,
Right.
Being able to go out and get whatever. Sometimes you work a club and your hotel is way out in the middle of nowhere, and you need like cross-country skis to actually find a bottle of water somewhere. So that's really nice, yeah. And where was that? I just got back from San Francisco, so that's terrific. That's always fun. So yeah, Atlantic City and Cleveland in August, so a couple of dates out that way, and then I get to come back home to beautiful Los Angeles.
And you're thinking Salt Lake this summer?
Yes, I definitely hope so. I will let you know if it comes up, and we'll reconnect.
Oh, definitely. Pete, and I just encourage the local listeners to go check out your show. It's so much fun, and you definitely enjoy it. You do just an outstanding job. We've got a few minutes left, and on your talking points it says, I have a Mothman obsession.
Yes, I do. Have you ever had a guest? You must have had a guest on talking about the Mothman.
Yeah, a couple.
There is a documentary called The Eyes of the Mothman that was just fantastic. I am fascinated with that in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I'd love to see more on the Mothman. But people just don't grasp that too much. They're not as interested in the Mothman.
Really?
Yeah, like I said before I freaked that guy out, I think these are all just interdimensional beings, and I think it seems like the veil between the worlds is getting thinner, and we're going to see a lot more activity with all of them.
Yeah. You think we'll see it in our lifetime?
I do. I think we'll see the start of it, and I think, like I said, I really think once people start to admit to the UFO thing, here, especially in this country, they're not going to, those Phoenix lights, they don't really seem to be hiding anymore.
No. Although we haven't seen a big, I don't know, that was a pretty publicized event. We haven't seen too many of those lately, but there's been plenty of the media stations out there, the big news medias, that at least are starting to recognize sightings when people, they're at least mentioning stuff when people are sending in, credible video.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's funny how the internet will change everything, and cell phone cameras will change everything. But it's also it's almost like it's a double-edged sword, because the fakes are out there just as much.
Yeah.
You really need video experts to make sure, especially a lot of these ghost photos that are out. You really have to check them out, because there's so many phone apps that are actually very good.
Well, and again, more and more people are grabbing, some very, very unique stuff. And I know in other countries, they're posting a lot of stuff up on their major news networks.
Right.
Right. I don't know. I hope that we do see the day when, when we see that, when everybody on the planet sees something that cannot be disputed, and I don't know, maybe it'll change our way of thinking. Maybe it'll all the terrible crime that's going on, and the rioting, and the wars, and the evilness. It's just it's running rampant. It's insanity.
Yeah, I agree. It's time for the Aquarian age to come and community to start working together, not so much big corporation money.
Right. Well, I think that's the big thing, Karen, is that so much stuff is driven by greed, and I don't know, maybe something will show itself and say, hey, you know what? There's more to life than greed and money, and that's just a piece of paper in your pocket, and maybe that will be enough to knock some people upside the heads. Maybe some of our own government officials.
I sure hope so.
You know.
Mm.
Well, I want to thank you for being here as always. You're going to be down in Vegas. Are those shows? Are they still? Is there room at the shows?
Yeah, absolutely. If they can go online to Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, or just call the MGM and get tickets. And come see a fun show.
And you're going to be there Monday through Friday.
Monday through Sunday.
Monday through Sunday. Oh, start. So you're gonna be leaving in the next day or two. Well, you're gonna be leaving tomorrow, probably.
Well, I'll leave Monday morning and get there in the afternoon and be all show ready. I'm only an hour away, so that's a quick flight.
And how many are you doing? 1 or 2 shows a night?
1 show a night, Monday through Sunday. 1 show a night. I believe it's at 8:00, but I will check that out when I get there. Actually, tomorrow night I'm in Santa Barbara, and then tonight I'm in at a middle school for some reason.
Well, hey, if the check cashes.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
Hey, I want to thank you so much for being here, and I know we connected up, and it's tough because you've got your Saturday nights pretty well booked up. But I want to thank you so much for giving us a couple hours and taking the time, and miss seeing you, and I can't wait till you get back into Salt Lake, and would love to see you in person and have you on the show. Maybe we could do something and come see you at the Comedy Club. And again, the best of luck to you and everything you do. You're such an honor to know you and have met you in your show. And people, if you get a chance to go see Karen's her show, what she does, her magic, it is truly magical. Well,
thank you, and it's my pleasure on and off the air always to be talking to you.
Okay, Karen. Get a couple cups of coffee and get ready for those little kids.
I will. Thanks, Sheriff.
Okay. Take care, Karen. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.